So if you grow up in the hood, you see a gas station on the corner, a liquor store. You go down the street up to a suburb, you see a Whole Foods, a Trader Joe's. If you're a person who doesn't have money, you can't waste gas, or you might not have a car, or the bus route may not go to those areas, or you might not have enough money for a bus pass to take you to transfer. So therefore, going up to the liquor store, or corner store, convenience store, you rather get box foods or canned goods, things like that you can afford. And that's going to affect us physically, inside in our bodies and how we present when it comes to chronic illness like diabetes and hypertension and heart disease, which is the number one killer in the Black community. So when it comes to being, impoverished and things like that, we're just automatically a step back behind people who are more privileged or placed in environments where they can thrive.
Who's ready for some Girl Talk?
Welcome to Girl Talk. I'm Nicole D. Miller, author, blogger, speaker, hybrid book publisher, and your host. At Girl Talk, we are a safe space for female leaders to engage in healing and edifying conversation. This is your Me Too, empathetic corner, where we have authentic and transformative dialogue designed to uplift and connect high-achieving women like you. Are you looking for a safe space to cultivate sisterhood with other like-minded female bosses? Leave your cape at the door and join the conversation. Hey ladies, and welcome back to another episode of Girl Talk. I'm your host, Nicole D. Miller. Today, we're having a conversation that touches on an area many of us neglect, our health. How often do we women spend so much time making sure our hair is just right, and our nails are flawless, and our outfits are on point, but forget to care for the most important part of who we are, our health, our minds, our souls? This is part one of Taking Care of Us. And joining me in this much-needed conversation are some heavy-hitting health gurus, if I do say so myself. Miss Gloria Terry, Ari Baker, Mary Johnson, Gigi, and Dr. Shamarah J. Hutchins. I'm really excited for you guys to check out this Girl Talk because although it wasn't our first time meeting in person, it was our first time with a full-blown production team. Shout out to Mas Larae for making that happen. And a special thank you to Unbar Cafe for gifting us with your space. If you'd like to tap in with any of these women, make sure to review the show notes for their contact information, as well as the contact info for our sponsors. Now, tune in as we'll be sharing our thoughts on how so many of us, especially in the urban community, face unique challenges when it comes to prioritizing our well-being. In this dialogue, we'll talk about the value of not just looking good, but feeling good, inside and out. Together, we'll reflect on why so many women push their health to the back burner, and why it's time we stop. So, grab your favorite beverage, sit back, relax, and join the conversation. Hi everyone, and welcome to Girl Talk, Taking Care of Us. I am the host, Nicole D. Miller. I'm an author, blogger. I do a lot of things in addition to hosting this event. I'm so excited to have you guys here today. We started Girl Talk about 2 years ago. We started virtually. We're a panelist of 6 women. We talked about feminism. So we tend to tackle heavy-hitting topics that are dealing with women's issues. This month, we're going to discuss women's health, so I'm going to let my friends here introduce themselves. But before we do that, I just want to shout out our sponsors. A special thank you to Mas Larae, as well as Breakthrough Sounds. They're doing our production. Check them out. We're here at Unbar Cafe. If you are in the area, stop through. We're off Larchmere. Special thank you to Melissa. And then we have Teen Enterprise. They actually help train up young teens in the inner city to become entrepreneurs. So without further ado, I would like for each of my guests to just introduce themselves, share who they are, why they're here, and we'll take it from there. So Gloria, we'll start with you and just go down the line.
Okay, my name is Gloria Terry. I am a licensed and ordained minister of the gospel of Jesus Christ. I am a certified grief recovery specialist. I also work part-time as a family liaison through Akron Public Schools at Barber Community Learning Center. And I am the director and founder of a nonprofit organization called Grace Academy of Small Wonders, where I work with elementary girls around godly character, spiritual awareness, mental well-being, social skills, and etiquette. And I am here to support the mission of taking care of us because it's so very important, especially in today's culture, to take care of us as women.
Oh, perfect. Hi, friends. How are you? Beautiful. Well, my name is Ari Baker, RN MSN. I'm a registered nurse of 10 years. I also have my master's in nursing education. My primary specialty focuses on oncology, hematology, and hospice. I'm also an instructor here in Cleveland. I teach a step class, and I'm a certified personal trainer. I primarily focus on preventative care in African American community and in holistic care, totaling your mind, body, and spirit.
Hello, everyone. My name is Mary Johnson. Everybody calls me MJ for short. I'm the owner of Vitamin Candy brand. I also specialize in health and wellness, mental, physical, and spiritual. I own a couple of vegan restaurants and a herbal store. I'm heavy into herbalism. I am a certified personal trainer, GNA genetic testing, wellness instructor, and I'm also a group fitness instructor. There's so many different things that I can name right now, but I'll be here all day. I am here today to talk about how you can tap into your holistic self, mental, physical, and spiritual, but in the vegan world without sacrificing any taste or anything like that.
Ooh, that's a lot to follow, y'all. Well, I'm Gigi. I'm a licensed massage therapist. I work with the body because a lot of times we don't focus on our body as much as we focus on our mind and energy, and it all goes hand in hand. So I'm here to promote the self-care on the physical side.
All right. Well, hello, everybody. I am Dr. Shamarah. I'm a clinical psychologist, and I focus on the mind. I'm the owner of Serene Counseling and Wellness. It's a concierge approach to mental health therapy. I'm also the owner of the Serene Foundation, which is a nonprofit that I pour into girls. We have an AAU team, and then I have the Melanated Minds Network, which focus on melanated individuals to focus on mind, body, and spirit, and how it all can go together to work with your mental health.
So, as you guys can see, we have some heavy-hitting gurus in the house. I roll with nothing less. I should add, I do own a publishing company. I'm like, okay, they got all this stuff. I do other stuff too. But yeah, so the thing about Girl Talk is we're laid back. I know we kind of looking nice tonight and everybody came to, show up, but it's really about a safe space for women to pour out, let their hair down. Female leaders are constantly doing the most, constantly bending over backwards, keeping everything afloat, and our health often can be sacrificed, especially in inner city urban communities. So that's why these women were chosen to discuss this topic, various aspects of women's health. The way that we'll kick it off is I will ask the question. They have a choice if they want to pass. If they don't feel comfortable answering, they can pass. So don't feel pressured to answer. And then we'll kind of switch up the order a couple of times, but we're going to start with Dr. Shamarah and just take it this way. And the first question is, what are your thoughts in general on women prioritizing or not prioritizing their health, and why?
I believe health is number one. So I deal with mental health, but when it comes to physical health, if that's not aligned in the sense of going to the doctor when you need to go to get a physical, get blood work, that leads to other aspects being out of line as well. Even when to working out. So I can tell you for existence, it's hard for me to work out, but I try to do it. I have a trainer, and I understand when I'm not aligned with working out every 3 times a week at 5 a.m., my whole week is shot. It's literally shot, and I can feel it. I'll go to bed early. I'm usually can go to bed at 11 p.m. if I work out. So I understand and be in tune with my body to understand that physical fitness, whether it's going to see a doctor or actually doing physical fitness, is essential to keeping your mental health together.
Why you steal my stuff? I don't appreciate that. Anywho, I feel like as women, we don't prioritize our health as we should. We focus more so on the physical, our hair, our nails, and we neglect our body. And our body is our main source of functioning. We sometimes read books to educate our mind and to progress our mind, but what about the body that holds that mind? We neglect that a whole lot. And I feel like that's something we need to get more into, not just necessarily blood work or going to the doctors, because sometimes your body has the opportunity in the physical situation to handle itself.
I believe you have to work from the inside out. You got to start there first. We all so caught up with the physical aspect of it, the tangible things, but what about the intangible? And we have to work from the inside out. If your spirit ain't right, nothing else gonna be right.
I love that you guys touched on how we pay attention to the exterior, but maybe not the interior. And I think, especially with Black women, hair done, nails done, everything done. But, depression, anxiety, just really stumbling and struggling inside. So I'm glad you guys brought that to our attention. Ari?
Yeah. I absolutely feel like health and wellness as Black women and women in general, when we prioritize our health, it's usually contingent on what's going on in our lives. A lot of times we don't pour into ourselves when we're required to pour more into everybody else. So our health and our wellness gets put on the back burner. And as you stated, I think you have to work on the inside first, especially as a wellness coach and a personal trainer. I have found that a lot of people are using fitness as a Band-Aid, something to cover up what's going on in their life. So I've done it before, when I was depressed and when I'm sad or I'm going through anxiety, I'll go to the gym 5 times a day. I'm the opposite. Some people run from the gym, some people throw themselves and immerse themselves into the gym. So as a woman, I think that you have to find your flow into relation to what's going on with your life. Like, it has to be something that's ground and set in your routine, no matter if you're having a good day, a bad day, finances are off, spirituality is off. It has to be something that you find and you ground within yourself in order to be consistent.
So to piggyback on what everyone else says, yes, and it does start with an awareness, taking care of yourself. First, having that awareness that you need to take care of yourself, because our culture just drives us to achieve and to get more and to work harder, and having an awareness that I need to first start with me, because we are spirit first, and then we're a spirit with a soul, having a human existence and a body. So to go along with what everyone else says, it's just having that awareness as well, and then moving in that direction, and then being aware when you're off, when you're expending more time pouring into others and you're not pouring into yourself. So I think awareness is very key.
Thank you guys for sharing. So the next question is, how is the urban community uniquely affected by challenges in our health, and how do you see that play out in your field? You want to start, Ari? I know you see it.
Oh, I love that question. Yeah. People of color or anybody going through lower socioeconomic standings, people who are more so poverty driven, are automatically at a knowledge deficit and are statistically behind in health and wellness just because they don't have the resources and the assets in order to tap in. So example, if you grow up in the hood, I like to just talk real. So if you grow up in the hood, you see a gas station on the corner, a liquor store, you go down the street up to a suburb, you see a Whole Foods, a Trader Joe's. If you're a person who doesn't have money, you can't waste gas, or you might not have a car, or the bus route may not go to those areas, or you might not have enough money for a bus pass to take you to transfer. So therefore, going up to the liquor store, or corner store, convenience store, you rather get boxed foods or canned goods, things like that you can afford, and that's going to affect us physically on the inside. Inside in our bodies and how we present when it comes to chronic illness like diabetes and hypertension and heart disease, which is the #1 killer in the Black community. So when it comes to being, impoverished and things like that, we're just automatically a step back behind people who are more privileged or placed in environments where they can thrive. So that's just how I feel about that.
I just love that you touched on those topics, that in inner city and urban communities, there's a lack of resources, and that affects our lack of options. One of the things I really struggle with is food deserts. You know, they're normally in the Black community, but even in Black suburbs, I'm vegan. We have a vegan nutritionist here. And I just get so frustrated that I can't just go down the street and get healthy options, where when I was on the west side, where it was more gentrified or more white people were populated there, it was in plenty, you know. And I even think about my own experience with working out. I started running distance in my 20s, but that's because my white roommates hit me to running distance. Not to say Black people don't, but if you're living in the hood, you ain't trying to run out there, you know, like, unless you getting chased by something.
There's no
you know,
trees.
like, no trees. Exactly. So when you have limited options, you're going to have limited resources to be healthier.
And I can piggyback off that. Being in the mental health, there's not really many therapists who look like us. So that gives us the opportunity to say, I'm not going to receive the help. And when we do find the therapist that looks like us, they simply work the 9 to 5. And so what happens? People of our color work second shift. They're single parents. You know, they work third shift. They really can. If I stop going to work at 9 to 5 to come to therapy, that's bringing more burden on myself. Mm-hmm. And so that's what brought me to the concierge approach to, you know, mental health therapy. We're just not 9 to 5. We go nights, we go weekends, we go, you know, meet you where you're at, because we understand that you just can't go to therapy 9 to 5 and then expect to find an African American therapist as that. So that's one thing that kicks it. It's not a lot of therapists that look African American out there.
And I just wanted to contribute in terms of the stigma too, if we're talking about mental well-being as well too. In the Black community, there definitely still exists a stigma around mental illness and mental well-being. So I know one of the things we're tasked to do is to educate our Black community, and especially those who may be at a lower economic level in society, to help them to understand that mental health is just as important as physical health. It's a holistic approach to health.
Honestly, we weren't taught self-care. We weren't taught mental health self-care, physical, none of that. We starting to learn it now. And when you come from a background where they don't teach that, where your parents ain't show you how to take care of your mental health when you having a breakdown or you have those type of disabilities, you don't know how to handle it. It's just now coming aware to a lot of us. I have a beautiful friend who has a son who is autistic, but she got that environment to help her learn how to function with that son with his disabilities. A lot of people don't have that, and it's not available to everybody. And as far as the therapist, even finding Black therapists, you need to find the right therapist, the one you can communicate with, connect with on a personal level. I done been through several therapists, let me tell you, girl.
You ain't been through me.
Listen, I probably would stress you out. You would quit messing with me. You would quit, let me tell you. But even, just like I said, just finding a therapist, it's easy to find therapists, even outside of the normal 9 to 5. It's just finding that therapist that connects with you on that level where you at mentally. Because a lot of times a therapist don't take this wrong way, expecting you to be at a different level than where you are mentally. They have to learn how to meet you at that level.
I'll just say Dr. Shamarah is my therapist, so she knows how to meet you. I'm just putting that out there.
I'm not saying she don't.
But Gigi's also my massage therapist.
And therapist.
Ari is my workout instructor. Gloria was my writing mentor. And then I'm just vibing with MJ because she's a vegan beast doing her thing. So I'm just trying to get in her space.
Thank you. Thank you.
So all of these women are qualified for sure. Is there anything you want to add?
I like to piggyback off of what Ari said about the urban communities, and this is another reason why I started my business in all of the urban communities. I own vegan restaurants, and I started out with cafes, and I did it middle ground. So I started with the pescatarian and vegan, just to reel them in, because it's the stigma about how we eat is not real food. Well, everybody don't make fake food. Like, it's people out there that really know how to cook, men and women. some children that really know how to chef it up. And so I did this on purpose so that I can give our community the advantage of having something very healthy on the grab and go aspect instead of going to McDonald's, Burger King, Wendy's, and all that stuff. And changing their minds about how healthy food, good food can taste. Like you don't have to, it doesn't have to taste like grass. So you can go somewhere and look and find somebody that look like you that can educate you. So I did that to pull them in. And then after I got them in the door, then I started teaching. Oh, you know, I'm a certified instructor. You know, I know about, you know, herbalism, and I know about CBD and how it can help your body, and you ain't got to get high. And, you know, I know how to make wine that is conducive to the body that's going to flush you versus you feeling like you're drunk, you know, stuff like that. So I started educating, and I am so blessed to be able to touch in 4 different communities now. And I pray to expand even more and help other people do that, because we don't have that at our advantage. Myself, I shop at Whole Foods, Trader Joe's. I'm more of in the farming aspect now because I did my research and education and became an urban farmer so that I can do the farm to table method. But a lot of us don't think that way, and more so now than ever because of the technology that we have. Everybody is just, come on, lazy. They're lazy, flat out lazy. And if you don't have a parent that didn't come from that or is not reaching to get to that point, then they're going to teach the kids the same thing. So as a unit, we should keep doing what we're doing. I think in all aspects. I got a therapist too, and I love my therapist. I mean, like, she the bomb. And we don't even know that we need it until we get there. So yeah, that's pretty much what I had to add. I just wanted to talk about that in the urban community. So it is options out there. I'm so pumped. Like, we here, Unbar, she has healthy options. We got Convenient Vegan down the street, the Cleveland Vegan Club around the corner. Like, it's a whole bunch of them in the community, but if you're not looking for it, then you won't know where it's at.
I definitely agree with that statement. If you guys didn't notice, so this is more about holistic health. This isn't just one aspect of health. So we have mental, emotional experts, we have nutrition, physical training, medical training, massage therapy, because I'm about wholeness and so are these women. So the next question is, what is your specific experience as a woman dealing with your nutrition, your body image, any body distortion, dieting, your mental health, your spirituality? Who wants to kick us off?
I will.
Okay, go ahead, girl.
Like me and Ari fighting for the big. Who's gonna go first? So this is right up my alley because I am Vitamin Candy. I started my business because of myself. I lost over 120 pounds, and I did that the natural way. People swore up and down. I was like taking all these medications, and I ran and had all this surgery and all that stuff. But only the people that know, they know, you know. There are a lot of people in the city that can vouch for that. But the most important thing about it is the funny thing is when I was overweight, I didn't even see myself that way because my life was so bogged down with everything else. I was in college. I was doing hair, had a full-time job, and even I was teaching in the schools, working with autistic children. And so to see myself now, not even knowing I had all that going on, and then I took it back around for a circle to make my brand what it is today. You couldn't have told me in a million years that I'll be teaching people about this, but what you put in is what you get out, is where I'm trying to get at. Like, what you put in is what you get out. And if you do not start with how you're feeding yourself internally, you're never going to get to that next level in life, mentally or physically.
Oh no, it's perfect. I love that. I know, and I love how your journey's progressed and how you're focused on like the herbal and everything like that. Because I want to dive deep into that a little bit more. But so my story is a little darker. I talked about this earlier this weekend. I feel like God is pushing me to talk more about it. I stopped talking about this because I was a little ashamed about it, and I was talking to Nicole about it last month. But I think society has told us that Black women don't have eating disorders. So when I was a child, I was overweight. I mean, I was statistically overweight. I was about 150 pounds in the 5th grade, and I stayed there for a while. I'm 165 now. So for a long time, I always felt less than everybody else because I was bigger for my age back then. And this is before the concept of body shaming was like taboo. You know, they just, kids were mean. They just called you fat. And I first started suffering from anorexia in 9th grade. Hindsight, realized I just stopped eating because I wanted to be thin. Started running track, and that kind of masked what was going on because now I had a way to work out and lose weight, and it benefited me because I got to end up getting a scholarship. But I had my son when I got pregnant at 19. I had my son when I was 20, and I gained a lot of weight. I went from 145 to 216, and I didn't lose any of it. And I didn't know who I was outside of track, and I didn't know who I was outside of being a petite person. And so that drove me into becoming a bulimic, someone who suffers from bulimia. And it happened when I became a personal trainer, because I couldn't deal with the pressure of everybody constantly staring at me not be able to fit what they wanted me to be. You know, I think that's what we do a lot. We measure our worth based off of what people say we are. So if I gained 5 pounds, I knew my trainer would be mad at me. I would have a meal, go make myself sick. I started being on camera with a really famous fitness instructor here in Cleveland. I couldn't afford to gain a pound, make myself sick. So I feel like the concept of body dysmorphia had got all the way down to 140 pounds, which is small for me, and I still thought I was fat. Nothing was ever good enough. I work out 5 times a day, 5 hours a day. Wouldn't eat anything at all. I would look in the mirror, still not good enough. I need to fix this, this, and this. And the more I talk to women who are like me, the more I realize it wasn't just me, that we all kind of suffer from body dysmorphia. We look, in our minds, we look worse than what we actually are. And everybody else around us is like, you look fine, what's the problem? But it doesn't matter what they think, because if how you feel about yourself isn't aligned, then anybody can give you compliments. You will always pick and choose the negativity. Isn't it funny how we can believe the negative things that people say about us, but not the positive? So sad. But yeah, so that's just my story in relation to that.
Thank you so much, Ari, for your vulnerability. And as you said, you and I connected on that. So I have a very similar story. I struggled with my weight growing up, and I was dieting. I had a short stint of anorexia, but then in high school suffered from bulimia. And I think the thing about it is I didn't even know that was a mental health thing, until I was an adult. Oh, that was my mental health. There's a distortion in how I perceived myself. Yeah, I was a little thick, but, it was like, girl, why are you tripping? Yeah. But it doesn't matter what the truth is, it's what your mind believes. And I can see back then I used it as a control mechanism. If I could control my weight, because I couldn't control my circumstances, because there was some difficult things happening at home, there was some emotional abuse or verbal abuse and things of that nature, but I can control my weight. And unfortunately, by control was vomiting. And it got to the point where I was hiding bags of vomit underneath my bed. And I would be at school making myself throw up, and somebody told a counselor, and they called me in, and what did I do? I lied. And I remember, I think it was junior year, I was sitting there, and there was a teacher that I really connected with, and everything in my spirit cried out I wanted to confess, but I was in such bondage that I couldn't. And for me, it wasn't until college when I had a spiritual experience with God, I had a supernatural deliverance from that. But then what happened? I gained 60 pounds because now I'm not purging anymore. So now I'm struggling with being even bigger. And it took even more years for me to find a balance, and I'm finally free from that. And I experienced a lot of teaching from my spiritual mom and health coach, Rhonda Sharpley, who's here. And I really was able to change my eating habit and renew my mind, but it was definitely partnering with the Holy Spirit, because I couldn't have done it on my own. So, and I think one of the things too is we don't talk about those things in the Black community. So when I did open up with a friend years ago about it, she was from the hood. Her view was, people who are Black don't do that, but they do. And so even when I heard Ari's story, I was like, yeah, I'm not alone. So that's why we create this space, to let you guys know that you're not alone.
And the one thing that you said was that's something that I can control. So mine was the opposite. I didn't think I can control anything. So I had depression and anxiety, and didn't realize I had depression and anxiety because growing up, we didn't talk about depression and anxiety. Even though I felt like I had an outlet with basketball, I still had those situations where I felt like I was losing it all. So I was so determined to get to college because I grew up with my parents who were drug and alcoholics. So my grandmother raised me, and so I didn't have them there. So, and then my friends would sell my mother drugs. So that was another, like, just anxiety out the goo-hoo. But I remember in college, it was when I got a full scholarship to college. I thought, I was like, I'm going to make it. I'm going to get through college. My grandmother's not going to have, she's not going to have to pay for anything. And then all of a sudden, I had a conversation with my mom before basketball practice. Why? I don't know. I get to basketball practice, and like, my teammates didn't want to be around me. I was always angry. Like, I'm supposed to be the leading scorer, but they like, you are horrible. And I'm like thinking to myself, like, am I really horrible? And it's just like, I was so depressed, and we got to the point where we had a horrible practice, and my coach was like, who wants to be here? And who don't want to be here? And I raised my hand, and he said, well, go back to your room, and you need to figure out what you're going to do, because you're no longer going to have a scholarship. That's when I said, oh, I need some help. Like, I cannot lose this. I'm gonna go back to an environment that I don't want to be in, because I haven't really worked through the trauma that that was there. And so I continued to suffer through depression, anxiety. I don't know how I made it through college with a 3.8, because I was always like by myself, isolated, didn't want to do anything, slept. If it wasn't for school and practice, I didn't do much. It was just, and so it was after college when I said, want to be a clinical psychologist. I guess I got to go through therapy now. I can't help people if I can't help myself. And so that's when I started the cognitive distortions that we see about ourselves, how we feel about ourselves. And so that's when I align myself with anything around me is positive. Like the shirt is the piece for me. Like, I have to have positivity around me in order to not go backwards, because just because you work through something doesn't mean you can't go backwards. You got to continue to work on it and build it, because we get comfortable, and just understanding your body. Like, I'm getting comfortable, like, I can feel it coming, so I need to put myself in a bigger position around the community, do things that's going to be outside my comfort zone, so I can continue to not go back to that depression and anxiety.
As you can see, our very first conversation of taking care of us started off with a lot of insights on women's health, and particularly women from urban environments. Some of the questions asked were, what are your thoughts in general on women prioritizing or not prioritizing their health, and why? How is the urban community challenged by taking care of their health? We all agreed that physical fitness is essential to keeping our mental health together, as stated by Dr. Shamarah. But sadly, so much of our culture puts pressure on women to tend to their external instead of their internal. Gigi made a great point. Many of us were not taught about self-care and tending to our mental health. I was raised in a single-parent home. My parents were my mother and grandmother, and both demonstrated great resilience, tenacity, and a knack for overcoming adversity. Yet tending to their mental health was never a priority. They were in survival mode. When you're focused on surviving, your priorities are different. What I do remember, though, is when it came to me, they were more concerned about my health. I have a vivid memory of my grandmother taking me to a counselor as a teen when she found out I was bulimic. I kept denying it, but she could hear me vomiting in the bathroom. One day she approached me about it. I wasn't yet ready to stop, but it touches me that she would do something so different in our culture, like look for help for me. To my knowledge, no one in our family was bulimic, nor was it a thing people spoke about in our community. But in spite of all that, she sought out some form of mental health therapy for me. It didn't stick, but I think that was a picture of how sometimes, even if something isn't demonstrated in our family, we can be the first to walk it out, and those who have gone before will be motivated to do something different when you come along. One of the things I appreciated in this chat is Ari expounding on why we too often witness urban communities suffering from a lack of healthy resources. Ari's background is that she's from the inner city, yet still suffered from body dysmorphia and eating disorders. Contrary to popular opinion, Black women do have eating disorders. They struggle with other forms of self-harm also, such as cutting and burning. More of Ari's story of healing and resilience can be learned by purchasing her debut memoir, Sorry for the Wait. In this conversation, Ari broke down why those in the hood are overrun with depression, anxiety, and a lack of nutrition. So much of what we eat affects our mood, our outlook, and our behavior. So impoverished communities are at a deficit all around. One of the points Dr. Shamarah brought up was how therapy can be put on the back burner for the Black community simply because there are fewer professional counselors who look like us. That, coupled with the strict 9 to 5 hours that don't fit the average single mother's schedule, makes it more difficult for women to tap into this resource. I don't know how you felt, but for me, it was wild to hear that heart disease is the #1 killer for Black people in America. I think we're starting to place a larger emphasis on mental health in our community, but because of the historical beliefs of faith being the only avenue for healing, Black people need to raise awareness about caring for our mental health in whatever spaces we're in. I appreciated that Dr. Shamarah shared how she had to work through her past trauma in order to receive the blessings of her future. Otherwise, she would have self-sabotaged. That tells me that even when we make it out of our impoverished states, if we're not healed, we'll keep reliving the trauma and therefore not be able to walk through the open doors we work so hard to get to. How we see ourselves is so key for us walking out purpose and expressing our true identity. Those cognitive distortions can prevent us from thriving and keep us enslaved to false belief systems. Our goal here at Girl Talk is to dismantle those false beliefs. Okay, so that was a lot. I'm going to let you guys go and process, but in doing so, here are a few items to consider. What are ways that you cope with stress and anxiety? What is built into your daily routine to give you the outlet to properly cope? What is your experience in dealing with your health? Body image, distortion, nutrition, etc. One of our statements made was that many of us are overweight because we're overexerting ourselves with doing too much. Does that resonate with you? Make sure you tune in to part 2 of this conversation and look for spaces to discuss mental health issues. Make tending to our mental health a normal concept in our community. And remember, I attract amazing women doing amazing things. So guess what, sis? That means you're amazing. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review this podcast. To continue the conversation, join our Girl Talk community by following @GirlTalkCLE on Instagram and Facebook.com/HTOHB, where you can join the Girl Talk Facebook group. You can follow me personally on Instagram @HTOHB, on Facebook.com/HTOHB, and at YouTube.com/@HTOHB. Feel free to reach out via email info@indiemillerpublishing.com. If you're a writer who wants to take the next steps into becoming a published author, you can book a one-on-one consultation at indiemiller.pub. Just let me know you heard about my publishing house through Girl Talk, and I'll give you a 50% discount on our one-on-one. If you'd like weekly inspirational nuggets, you can subscribe to my blog and monthly newsletter at NicoleDMiller.com, where you can learn more about me and my writings.